What's up, everybody? Welcome to Kinda Funny Games Daily for Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside Forbes 30 Under 30, a.k.a. the second best baby blues in the world, a.k.a. the New York Times quoted at Tim Geddes.
Makes me laugh every time. I appreciate it.
It is a fantastic accolade to add to the piles of accolades.
So many accolades.
So many accolades.
What a good word. Everybody use accolades sometime today.
Remember the acolytes?
Yes.
Farouk and Bradshaw. We don't talk about Bradshaw anymore, but you know, Farouk and Bradshaw, when Bradshaw was cool.
Yeah.
Before he became a jerk. You know what I mean? How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing fantastic.
Excited to be here?
Excited to be here. Excited for Mania in a couple weeks. Speaking of wrestling.
One week.
Catching up on the last couple episodes of Raw and SmackDown last night. I'm like, we got some good stuff brewing.
Man.
Stuff's brewing, man.
It's real good.
Like the Demon, Finn Balor versus Edge in a Hell in a Cell.
Yes.
Hey, but if you're going to, what are you going to do to make that match cool? Reappearance of the Demon?
Sure.
I'm here for it. It's been a long time.
But I mean, we're at the culmination of the bloodline. You know what I mean? And let's see. You know what I mean? Sammy and KO going to get the belts. We know that. Night 2, Cody going to get where he's just going to destroy the bloodline in one weekend. Then what happens on the Raw afterwards, you know?
Randy Orton's coming back.
Voices in my head. What a song. We don't talk about how good Randy Orton's song is.
And I loved his old song too, but you know, he's just a pretty boy doing pretty things. Legend Killer, one of the dopest gimmicks in wrestling history.
That was really cool. You know what I appreciate is TikTok. You know what I mean? Is China stealing all my information? Probably. They're welcome to have it. You want it? Hit me up. I'll give it to you. I don't care. But what I appreciate is that all it is lately for me on TikTok is wrestling, both classic things, and then, of course, more, Amanda Reacts. Everybody follow Kinda Funny Best Friend. We've talked about her a lot, who does all the recaps. But then I'm getting promos from WWE. I'm watching, Cody and Roman Reigns jaw at each other. That's great. But then, sometimes I'm not even thinking it. But the algorithm knows me. Like last week, scrolling on by, what do I get? Oh, it's a clip from The Martian. Somebody's uploaded The Martian clips. You're goddamn right I favorited it. Yeah. And you're goddamn right I'm happy every time it comes. I don't remember the end of The Martian very well, apparently. And I'm just living it and loving it, watching Jessica Chastain catch this Mark Watley off the planet and put him in. It's fucking great. What a movie. That's the thing I've said before. Fuck theaters. Just put it on my phone in TikTok
vertical.
Format.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've seen a TikTok movie where it's like, or it's like, it's like this person was trapped in a room. I'm like, all right, I'll fucking watch you recap of this guy. This looks like a good movie. Jen, we're renting this movie. And it wasn't a great movie, but it was a good movie.
Good. Sometimes
why
good enough.
When you bring up The Martian, I thought my favorite Martian starring Christopher Lloyd and Jeff Daniels.
Yeah.
That's the one I thought of first.
Does it surprise you, Barrett, that I'm not old enough that I was on when I was alive, obviously. But I'm old enough that my dad loved the TV show, My Favorite Martian, the black and white one that he would force me to watch on Nick at Night right after Mr. Ed.
Yeah.
That's some dad shit right there.
That is some dad shit right there.
Mork and Mindy.
Mork and Mindy were also on there. Yeah, that's right.
Also, you got to stop hanging out with Mike because I feel like he's a bad influence on you of watching movies on TikTok.
No, I mean, Mike's a bad influence for a number of different reasons. I'm so sorry that Simon Cardy, apparently, from IGN had to hang out with him last night. I was following their escapades happening over on the Twitter. It's like, oh, Lord. You know what I mean?
Oh, Lord.
How good does it feel, Timothy? It is GDC, of course, the Game Developers Conference. Obviously, GDC and Kinda Funny's involvement, I think, took a few years off there because of the whole global pandemic thing. I feel like we've all shifted in roles and responsibilities and stuff. We have the amazing Spare Bedroom Studio now. We've got this team now that's all here in San Francisco. It warms my heart to wake up in the morning and see stuff like this.
Yeah.
Andy quoting Snowbike Mike. If you are not watching, I will read it to you for the audio listeners. Andy's tweet last night at 8:30 was, quote, "Since we're in a safe place, I've never had ramen except for crunching into it all dry." And that was a quote from Snowbike Mike. Like, there's that. And I wake up, I look at them like, oh, they're having a GDC adventure.
Yep.
Then I get clips from Tamor on Slack. I see him and I see Snowbike Mike and Cardy on there. Mike comes in today, said he actually tried real ramen. There it is. We're fixing it, says Tamor. Like, I'm so happy to see the young bucks out there living that GDC life. I remember it, and I don't miss it. Like, I'm not out there looking like, you know what I wish I was doing right now, drinking my fucking face off.
If I remember correctly, it was the GDC that you and Harley from Epic Mealtime got into a screaming match at a bar of who could be loudest.
Now, there's some truth to that. I don't think it was a GDC. If memory serves, it was just Epic Mealtime came to IGN for the first time. And we stayed, they were like in town, so they came late. It wasn't even for content. And then, we went to 21st Amendment. That was where they finally dropped the gimmick and talk to us. And I was like, oh my God, like you actually knew IGN shit. And then, yeah, there was a conversation of Greg's really loud. I bet he's louder than Harley. And Harley's like, let's fucking go. And so in the middle of a crazy crowded pub, restaurant/bar, him and I just screamed at each other until the manager came over and was like, yo, what the fuck is going on? We're going to make somebody leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those were the days.
I love that you're like, that wasn't entirely true. And I love the parts that weren't true.
Just GDC. Yeah. we wasn't at GDC. I don't want you to think getting right. Well, Greg only gets crazy at GDC. Greg's fucking nuts 24/7.
I was feeling the FOMO a little bit last night, but then Andy got home. And then Andy was like, we had to walk a good 30 minutes in the pouring rain to get from place to place yesterday because with the storm, it like traffic lights were out and stuff, and like downtown was in a gridlock essentially of just traffic.
It was bad. You and me got caught in it driving home last night, where it was one of the roads where like several lights were out of power, and that meant we were backed up for 35 minutes for no reason.
So it was crazy. So they weren't even trying to get an Uber to get from point A to point B, and they were like, "All right, I guess we're walking." And I was like, no, I was good. I got rained on yesterday while waiting for a bus. So,
you know what we got poured on? Gaming news. Stuff like Spider-Man 2's release date has been revealed by Venom, probably. Counter-Strike 2 has also been revealed and really has been. And Redfall is dope? Isn't dope? We'll find out because we're going to talk about all that and more because this is Kinda Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday on a variety of platforms, we run you through the nerdy video game news you need to know about. If you like that, be part of the show for free at kindafunny.com/KFGD. Write in with your questions, comments, and concerns about the day's news. Then, of course, watch us record the show live, twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames and youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames. If you are watching live, you have a special job. Keep us honest by going to the one, the only, kindafunny.com/you'rewrong. Tell us what we screw up as we screw it up so we can set the record straight for everybody watching later on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames and listening on podcast services around the globe. Of course, all of those avenues pale in comparison to the one, the only, glory be to God in the highest, patreon.com/KindaFunny. On patreon.com/KindaFunny, you can get every episode of Kinda Funny Games Daily ad-free. You can get every podcast ad-free. You can watch us record all the other podcasts live unless there's an embargo. And of course, you can get dozens and dozens of bonus episodes of content over there each and every month. Patreon.com/KindaFunny keeps the mics and lights on. Please go there and support us if you think we're doing a good job. You can support us for free also. Use the creator code KindaFunny over on the Epic Games Store or Fortnite, Rocket League, and what have you on your PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch when you're checking out. Housekeeping for you, the Gamescast has been live for a while. I screwed this up, but I'm ad-libbing perfectly. Of course, there's a Resident Evil review up, but more importantly, the Xcast is live right now, and that has your in preview of Redfall. Your in preview? Your
That's not
preview.
Right. It's a Gamescast.
It's Gamescast.
You're right. You're right about this. You're right about
See,
this.
I think what happened is somebody went through and corrected my script.
Yeah,
but then that made me look like I don't know if that's. I think okay, that makes more sense. It's okay. I also noticed for the bullet point, Redfall is dope. I was like, I didn't write that.
I didn't write that either.
Huh? Mike's in there now too.
Wow.
Everybody stay out of the goddamn Games Daily thing. Fucking Jesus,
everybody.
Anyways, Gamescast is live. I apologize. And so, Resident Evil review was also a Gamescast.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
That was a week ago.
That was last week.
I got you.
Yeah.
My timetable's all fucked up.
Every week. Crazy.
Really?
Yeah. Guess what?
One a week? That's what we do here?
Yeah.
Man, if I was on Patreon.com, it's just,
What a deal.
Patreon.com/KindaFunny is just a wealth and vault of content. So I have no idea what day it is or what's going on. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Tripod Plus and Delaney Twining. Today we're brought to you by Honey, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin the show with what is and forever will be the Roper Report. Time for some news. 7 items on the Roper Report.
A Baker's dozen.
We start with number 1.
Hey!
And since it's the number 1 story, it only gets one fog machine. Spider-Man 2 is apparently coming in September of this year. This is Grant Taylor Hill at Insider Gaming. Tony Todd, Venom's voice actor, has dropped a telling message on Twitter that apparently confirms Spider-Man 2 will be launching in September with an aggressive publicity campaign kicking off in August. In the post on Twitter, Todd, who has apparently flouted any NDA that may have been in place, responded to a comment stating he'd been told commercials will start dropping in August to advertise the release of Spider-Man 2, which will now reportedly launch in September. Todd posted an image on Twitter showing himself in a motion capture frame, to which the user user stated, can't come quick enough, Spider-Man 2. Now, we're not sure why, but Tony Todd responded with full, unrestricted transparency, clearly stating the following. Looks like September. Massive publicity coming in August. Commercials start dropping in August, so I'm told. Hold on to your ... and hold breath. Gonna be necessary. I was watching this live. Yesterday we recorded PS I Love You XOXO. It is our cheer review. It's up on patreon.com/kindafunny. But of course, you'll have to wait till Friday to get it on our normal day. And when this is happening live as we were recording. And what I was loving about it was, again, all this fucking detail from Tony Todd.
Oh, yeah.
And then people being like, yo, Tony Todd saying fuck NDAs. Yo, Tony Todd doing this. And then one of the ones he responded with was just oops. And he retweeted that. Like, you know what I mean? Totally fun. And then by the end of
a tweet reporting on it that he also retweeted.
By the end of PS I Love You XOXO, he had already put up this tweet. No more hints about hashtag Spider-Man 2. It was all a fever dream. Blame it on jet lag. Who knows? I might not even be hashtag Venom.
With this picture.
Yeah.
So
To which I, as I said on PS I Love You, as you'll see Friday, and as I'm saying right now, Tony Todd, of course, the Candyman, has haunted me in my nightmares forever. Final Destination, I thought we were on common ground, but Candyman, he's always there. So he's always scared me. And his eyes here look so scary. I was like, he's wearing black lenses. His eyes are all black. And people who could see it, I think, clear on the YouTube video were like, no, this is just his eyes, Greg. And I'm like, holy fuck, is Tony Todd scary in real life too? I'm terrified of this man.
Here he is out here giving us the info we're looking for. I don't think this is a surprise release date, release area, looking at September. That sounds right, especially the first game being released in September. This one hitting around there seems nice, especially with what we know of Sony's kind of release schedule, whether it's first party, third party, with their big exclusives, like the last one being Final Fantasy 16 in June. So a little bit of a gap after that, leading into a September release for Spider-Man. Totally adds up. I feel like that's a safe bet.
Yeah. I 100% believe it. I'm sure PlayStation and Insomniac are like, God damn it. But I'm sure they also don't care. Everybody's talking about Spider-Man 2 today. It's the headline of Kind of Funny Games Daily. James Stevenson, I ask you, is there a higher honor? There isn't. So, you know what I mean? Take the lemons, turn them into lemonade.
Exactly.
I can't fucking wait for Spider-Man 2.
I know. And I forgot that Tony Todd was Venom.
What?
Yeah.
How can you forget such a thing?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's exciting. I mean, obviously, Venom, a very iconic character in Spider-Man and Marvel, all of that stuff.
Topher Grace?
But I feel like it's been a very long time since we've seen a Venom that we like. We loved the Venom of the 90s when we were in the 90s.
Animated series.
Where we're at now, there's been movies that, you either enjoyed or didn't enjoy. Yeah. Those were.
Find out in review what we thought of the Venom series.
Exactly. But when it comes to Venom in video games, like, it's been a long time since a different age, right? We had the Ultimate Spider-Man, I thought did a really good job, the cel-shaded one.
Yeah.
But that was just a fun game.
Yeah.
Right? That's on a different level than what Insomniac's doing. So even with the teases that they've had in the first game, I'm like, this could be really cool. Adding Tony Todd, I'm like, that's a level of, like,
gravitas.
Yeah. That, I think is going to really go a long way for. Again,
I think he's going to be a breakout star in this.
Yeah.
And I know that Tony Todd is a breakout star. And I know Venom is already a star. You know what I'm saying? I think he's going to be a almost surprising highlight to this game. Where I think we all fucking got juiced when we heard Venom and saw Venom in the trailer, right? Like you said, you kind of forget about it, right? I think when I think Spider-Man 2, the first thing I think of are Peter and Miles, right? But to get him in there and see what they're going to do with it, and hopefully, if they're running with stuff that we saw at the end of Spider-Man, 2018, I'd like to see what that's going to actually look like and how they're going to do that and like really make that story their own. That was one of my complaints, I think, with the Spider-Man game is like, oh, well, played it safe to a degree. Towards the end, we got a little bit crazier with some of the things. But now I'd like to see what you're really going to do and invest with these characters. Yeah,
I'm super excited. And it's September's not that far away, Greg.
It isn't. This year's going fast, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fast. Have you checked your email lately about things that are coming up? Fast. It's going. Here we go. Look at this. What is this? Web of Shadows, as always?
Yeah.
Bear, you stand Web of Shadows, huh?
I do.
I wanted the kids on Patreon to fund a playthrough of it to see if I was wrong about it. But they didn't. I said, you and me should just play it. We should just do it.
Just on our own time,
No.
Well,
no.
Okay. We're not
This is 2023. The only way adults hang out is when they're making content. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. I can't help it.
It was one of those things where I think I entered the Spider-Man gaming universe a little too late because I was just a little young when like Spider-Man 2 was coming out as like a video game for that to be like a game that I owned. So yeah, my like first staple into a Spider-Man video game I think was the Spider-Man 3 video game, which was whatever. But then this kind of being like the first one that I played that wasn't tied to like a movie or anything. I really adored this game.
Of course, yeah. Remember Spider-Man 3 video game?
Oh yeah.
Remember at the end when like
Played
Venom's got to convince the Sand. This is how they interpreted the script. Venom's got to convince Sandman to work with him.
Yeah.
So what does Venom do? He reveals that he has Sandman's daughter and then has her hanging from a tree, not like in a noose, like in the Venom webs. And Sandman drops to his knees and goes, "No, fine, I'll work with you." Like, what the fuck is this game? Good lord. Let's move on to Nevin's Island, who wrote in for free, just like you can at kindafunny.com/KFG, and says, "Good morning, KFG duo. With the Venom voice actor leaking the Spider-Man 2 releasing in September news, do you think this is the last big game to come for PlayStation this year? Or, with Jeff Grubb's rumored May PlayStation showcase, do you think there will be an announcement that fills up the holiday season with some PlayStation goodness? Thank you for what you do, Nevin's Island."
It's an excellent question, and it's so hard.
Gold star for you, Nevin's Island.
Yes, gold star for you. It's hard to pontificate about this, Greg, with any sense of accuracy.
Oh, of course.
Because we've been waiting for this new phase of PlayStation 5 games to be announced, the next PlayStation Showcase. It's been a long time since we've gotten one, and we're kind of seeing the end results of the games that have been originally announced over the last couple of years for PS5, even, again, on the third-party side with things like Final Fantasy 16. So between that, the Horizon DLC, Spider-Man 2, that's kind of the end of everything that we know. Like,
forget everything you know.
Down to the things like Gran Turismo, and now that PSVR 2 is out with the updates to a lot of their first-party things as well, and Horizon VR, Call of the Mountain. So I feel like we are going to have to get new announcements sometime soon. I don't necessarily know if they're going to be for this year, though. Like, I kind of feel like once we're past September for Spider-Man, October, November, December, that's probably going to really enjoy the more traditional Call of Duties as Assassin's Creeds, like the third party that aren't exclusively tied to PlayStation games.
I agree 100% with you. Jeff Grubb, we've learned not to doubt. All right? Maybe on hairstyles, but we have not ever doubted his gaming acumen or information. And so I believe the May showcase is going to happen. Not to mention what we're talking about, of course. There has to be a showcase at some point because we know, as you say, the end of Wave 1 PS5. What is next? What's getting people hyped for it? My gut, though, beyond any of that, would still be the fact that look at all the other big titles we've had for Sony first party, right? And how many of those have come and just been out. That's not how it happens, right? You do get the announcement, you do get the lead up, you do get the updates, you do have long periods of silence, but you have your Game Awards beats here or there, Summer Game Fest, and best case scenario, if you want to really pin hope to it, that I don't believe, maybe you get factions or whatever Last of Us Multiplayer 2 is. I don't think you get that this year. I think the way Neil's talked about it on our own spoiler cast, the way Naughty Dog's, I think we're going to hear more about it this year. I think we're going to see what it actually is this year. I bet that comes spring or Q1 of next year.
Yeah.
I bet what happens here is, like you already said, you've got the lineup for this year, which has already happened with the PSVR stuff, Final Fantasy. Then you're going to have Spider-Man in there. What's the one I'm missing? I forgot one that you...
Horizon DLC.
Horizon DLC, thank you. Burning Shores next month. Can't wait. I think you're going to get all that, and then, you'll get announcements for what's coming, and then, they let the third parties duke it out for the holiday season like they always do.
It is, looking back at the PlayStation showcases we've gotten.
I'll stop right there. I'm sorry. Beyond Legendary Night says rumored Uncharted game starring Casey. Like, that wouldn't be out this fall. That would be something they would announce and have at the showcase and then do a whole lead up to it.
But also, my response to that is rumored or just heavily wished.
Yeah.
Rumored Uncharted game, sure, right? That's we've had enough of that. Look at this. It's like I'm holding the frame. Like I'm Cap.
Don't let it drop, Greg.
Remember when Captain America held that helicopter?
Yeah. You look just like him.
Don't let it drop. Oh, you're letting it drop now. You're letting it
He did it like this. He did it like this. He hurt himself.
That was good, man. That was really good. When they did the PlayStation Showcase leading into the PS5, that was when they announced Miles Morales. And correct me if I'm wrong, that game ended up coming out within that year, right? That was like a May to November.
Yeah, that was the launch game.
Yeah, but exactly. But like that was that year, right?
Yes.
Like the PS5 blowout was May leading into April. February? When the fuck was it? Let me know when it was.
KindaFunny.com/you're wrong on when that was.
Yeah, I just want to know the time frame between when that was and the November, because like that would have been like the most Fallout 4 style that we've seen from PlayStation Studios, at least. So I don't think that's necessarily their style. I think that there was a lot of things there with it being a launch game and also it being like a smaller title as well. But yeah, it's exciting. We're gonna have to get this new wave at some point, hopefully live at the Shrine Auditorium from 7,000 people. But I believe Grubb's right, and I think that means we're gonna get something in May. Probably not the June SGF E3 era, but more just like a little bit before it. PlayStation trying to have its own moment, which is exciting because I think that no matter what PlayStation does, they're gonna own the day. But I think that I expect that what is shown at this May showcase is going to wow us, similarly to the lead-in one to the PS5.
Sure. Can't wait. One thing we didn't talk about, the Spider-Man business, of course, coming to September. Do you worry about Starfield? One way or the other. As opposition, do you worry about not having enough time, Timothy? Which would you prioritize? Chat, I want to know you two. Actually, yeah, if anybody's watching who has the ability, put up a poll, because I'm not going to do it. But
yeah, I mean, you know me, Starfield's a non-factor. Spider-Man's everything. So
me too.
I'm playing Spider-Man.
I want to play. I'm going to play Starfield. I'm excited to play Starfield eventually, see what the hell it actually is. But come on, Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be in Spider-Man like as soon as possible. Like that is definitely one of my favorite games ever, and I'm sure the two's going to live up to it. I think that in terms of them stepping on each other, I think less a factor in a direct way, more a factor in the conversation way that I do think that in 2023 does actually matter. Like, yeah. I think that the fanboy wars will be so like overbearing online that I don't think necessarily that the sales of one and the time of playing one or the other is going to be a problem, but I do think it'll just sour the experience overall. Mm-hmm. And I if I had to guess, we're expecting that Spider-Man 2 is going to be at least as good as Spider-Man 1.
Hell yeah.
I think there's a lot more questions around Starfield. There's hopes, but it's definitely like
I mean, Snowbike Mike, host of the KindaFunny Xcast, says it has to be game of the generation.
And that's
what
the
he's
thing.
expecting from it, he says.
And that's a lot, right? So for them to pull that off, it's like I can see it's going to be easier to weaponize Spider-Man, I assume, against
Unleash your weapon, Spider-Man. Right now in the poll, 70% are voting that they will be playing Spider-Man 2 first. There you go, Starfield fans. We'll see what's up.
Probably be a shorter game.
Exactly, yeah. Pop get it done with, do you think? Banderas also wrote in to let us know the PS5 showcase with Miles was June 2020.
I mean, yeah, that's a turnaround, man.
Yeah. Some people called out, of course, SGF announcing Last of Us Remake and then that coming out a few months later. But that's a different ball of wax IMO.
Yeah.
Of like, here's a game we're releasing for the fourth time in some respects. And so I don't think that needs Spider-Man 2 wouldn't be, if Spider-Man 2 hadn't been announced, I don't think they would announce Spider-Man 2 and put it out, a month later. But we will wait and see. Speaking of announcing a game, Gregway, number 2. Counter-Strike 2 has been revealed and announced and everything. It's official. Alex Stedman at IGN writes, Valve has suddenly confirmed Counter-Strike 2, and it's arriving sooner than you might think. An exact release date has yet to be announced, but it's been given a summer 2023 release window as revealed at the end of several videos. It will be a free upgrade to CSGO. The Counter-Strike Twitter followed up on that and tweeted, players are selected for the Counter-Strike 2 limited test based on a number of factors deemed important by the Counter-Strike 2 development team, including but not limited to recent playtime on Valve official servers, trust factor, and Steam account standing. Tim? A whole bunch of nerds like Sean Finnegan are excited about this.
Yeah, for sure. And it's wild that a Counter-Strike 2 is actually happening, like properly titled. The question is that the right move? I'm not so sure. Like we look at these type of games and they're different, but in terms of like their market share and the competitive side of things, like Overwatch 2 having just happened, like games that have kind of been traditionally more platform focused, kind of getting a sequel. And what does that mean? What do people expect when a 2 is after the name of a game?
Yeah.
But Counter-Strike's interesting because it's been going for so long, and there are the purists out there that to this day still play the 1.6 version. And then there was the Source that people were excited for because it was the kind of next-gen graphic upgrade that people wanted to see based on the like Half-Life 2 engine. But then that changed the gameplay, and that was like one of those things where people are like, no, I prefer 1.6. I don't want Source. And then Counter-Strike Go kind of changed the game where that's just now that is the modern Counter-Strike, and it's wildly successful, just in different kind of corners and verticals than we traditionally cover on KindaFunny. So for them to do this, I feel like it's just off the heels and hard work that they put into Go over the last decade at this point. But it's surprising to me it's coming out so soon, but that also kind of is telling of what this is, which I do think is going to be similar-ish to the Overwatch 2 situation, which is people like it, but it didn't set the world on fire.
Sure. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what it does because it is such a dedicated fan base. Over on Twitter, it has been confirmed by Wickham Reddy. I don't know if that's a name or a pseudonym, but it's been retweeted by Mitch Dyer. Counter-Strike 2 will be a free upgrade to CSGO this summer. Your entire CSGO inventory will be ported over, so you lose nothing. So
yeah, that's good stuff. But then, again, telling
how
what
big
this is.
Yeah, what is it exactly?
But cool.
We will wait and see how Counter-Strike 2 comes together. But we're also waiting for a number of other games like Redfall. Number 3 on the Roper Report, ladies and gentlemen, is a bunch of Redfall tidbits. If you didn't know, there was some confusion at the top of the show by an unnamed person. The Gamescast is live with a Redfall preview. It is led by the one and only host of the KindaFunny Xcast, Snowbike Mike, the master of hype. Get out of here, Mike Howard!
Hey, good morning, everybody. Nice to see your
Good
two
to see you.
smiling
Don't touch it.
faces.
Good seeing you.
I've been all over GDC. I've been having a great time, Greg.
Yeah, I heard you had some ramen. How'd
Had
that go?
ramen for the first time. You know what? It was very good, except for the egg, Greg. It was very
Anti-egg
odd-looking,
agenda
Tim,
over
and
here.
it didn't taste good.
Yeah,
you
I'm
know
not a
what I mean?
ramen egg guy either.
But
I'm
I
with you.
had some of it. But yeah, let's talk Redfall. Of course, Gamescast
You know how
is out
excited
now.
I am. You know how excited I have been for Redfall. I want to go out
Yes.
and hunt vampires with you. I think it's a cool world and a cool thing, and I want to have a division-like experience. What am I getting?
And you're going to have that, Greg, with your friends, right? And so the cool
Just you.
part,
I have
of
no other
course,
friends.
is we have a great Gamescast out right now. 45 minutes of me, Andy, and Paris sharing our impressions from our Redfall preview, but it was solo only. And I think it was the right move from the dev team to allow us to go in solo to really experience the world, to soak in what the team at Arcane has really done, because it is impressive, right? It is a Far Cry-like open world.
Love it. You
There's
know
a
how
lot
much I
to
love Far
do,
Cry.
a lot to explore. There's a lot of detail in this game. And when you and your homies jump in with 4 people, we're going to forget all about that detail, Tim. We're going to be yapping. We're going to be shooting. We're going to be running. And we won't absorb and enjoy what they've created. And so our preview was solo only, and it went a long way for me. If you've been listening to the Xcast, you've heard my thoughts on Redfall. I have been very mixed emotions on this. I thought it was mid-looking at first. I thought, man, is this just another Borderlands? Is this another Left 4 Dead? We had a lot of, what is this game, before we really got to go hands-on with it. It is a Far Cry-like open world, single-player, multiplayer co-op game. And you are going to be hunting vampires all around Redfall, which is a very cool open world. But it didn't leave me wanting more when I left that. I left that going, okay, I'm a little more positive on this, but I'm not eagerly dying to play this, right? Like when we left the Diablo 4 preview, I said, oh my God, stop everything. We got to play that. We left this going, okay, that was a nice taste. Let's see what co-op is like.
Sure.
And I think, you know, what we've had before with Far Cry 6 with a little co-op experience, what we've done before with Rainbow Ghost Recon Wildlands, right, with you and 4 friends in a giant open world, that's what this is going to be, but with that Arcane twist. And what Arcane does so well is puts the player first and allows you to utilize the tools that have been given to you from all of your characters' different powers and the world that you see, and lets you play the way you want to play. And when we team up, Greg, and we are 4 different characters or 4 of the same characters, it's going to be a ton of fun. And so I'm looking forward to that. And like I said, the world is big. It's got a lot going on, from main missions to side missions to just random encounters that you're going to find. They have these vampire nests that are fun. I've really enjoyed. Andy and I did have some questions. If you listen to the Gamescast, again, I'll push you over there for the big details. But it's really fun. At the end, you kind of collapsed the vampire heart. You kill it, and then the whole thing closes down on itself, and you have a little bit of like, oh, go grab a bunch of loot before it closes. You only got a minute and a half. So that will be fun and cool with your friends. But the question was, can you keep our attention with a 30 to 40 hour experience, right? We don't know how long the game truly is, but it is big, ladies and gentlemen. And the question will be, can it hold our attention, or will it be like a Far Cry where it's like, man, I've done the same thing 30 times, and this is getting boring and kind of repetitive. And so Arcane has that pedigree of showing you that they can really do some cool stuff, but can they do it on a grand scale like this? That's the question, and we'll see come release. But go listen to the Gamescast. Great conversation on that. We all turned a little more positive, but none of us left going, oh, man, this is
Gotta
it.
do
You
it,
got to
gotta play
go
it.
for it right now.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Mikey.
Yeah, thank you.
A pleasure as always.
I think I said everything that I'd like to say about that. Gamescast, listen in. Of course, Xcast, we're going to talk a whole lot more all about it. And, of course, we're going to celebrate 10 years of ID at Xbox today on
Chris
the Kind
Charla.
of Funny Gamescast, or Kind of Funny Xcast. Chris Charla's in the building to talk all things indie games. We're going to tell you about the indie games you need to know about coming to your consoles and Xbox ecosystem this year and beyond.
Love it. Of course, watch
Beyond.
that live. I caught it. I caught it. Of course, watch that live. Patreon.com/kindafunny this afternoon. What time is that? 3:30. 3:30, everybody. You can watch Chris Charla come on in here from Xbox and talk to Mike. But I have more Redfall tidbits for you from all of these previews and interviews popping, right? We'll start with the one, the only Shinobi, of course, over on Twitter, who had an IGN France interview he translated a portion of and says, a PS5 version of Redfall was in development, then canceled, confirms Arcane director Harvey Smith. Quote, we were acquired by Microsoft, and it was a change with capital C. They came in and they said, no PS5, we're focusing on Xbox, PC, and the games, and the Game Pass, end quote. Not unexpected by any stretch of the imagination. Of course, when you buy somebody and you have them making games, you probably want to figure out the best way to not even monetize, but capitalize on what it is. And I think we saw Deathloop come out for that PlayStation 5 exclusivity period, right before it went over. Those were the deals that Arcane already had in place. And then, to get here and have it be, all right, there's nothing promised for this, then stop and let's focus and get people to turn on their Xbox and turn on Game Pass and come do that. Yes, we might be able to make a few more bucks if it was in more places, but this isn't going to be a game, I'm going backwards in time, not even off of Mike's preview. This isn't going to be a game that's going to set the world on fire. This isn't going to sell 13 million copies. This isn't going to be the next big thing. So let's make it the next thing on Xbox.
Yeah, for sure. The change with the capital C, that's an interesting. I don't know if I'm missing a turn of phrase there or something, but
That means it was a big change.
yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Because the change is capitalized because it was so big.
Got it.
Got it? It's like a proper noun.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
The next tidbit I have for you are this. Redfall developer is working on reversing that always online requirement. This is Eurogamer's Tom Phillips. Tom has a giant interview with Harvey up. I'm going to pull a few graphs from it here, though, and jump around a bit. Redfall developer Arcane is, quote, actively working to remove the game's always online requirement when playing strictly in single-player mode. The vampire shooter's always online restriction raised eyebrows when it was spotted last month. Now, speaking to Eurogamer, game director Harvey Smith has revealed his team are now working to change how the game works to make offline single player possible. They talk a little bit about empathy here, and like they didn't think about it, but then so I'm jumping ahead. The other response, Smith continued, was to accept the reaction and find out if things can, at a late stage in development, be changed. Quote, we do take it with a lot of empathy. We listen, and we have already started work. We have already started work to address this in the future. We have to do some things like encrypt your save games and do a bunch of UI work to support it. And so we are looking into. I'm not supposed to promise anything yet, but we're looking into and working actively toward fixing it in the future. End quote. Smith also went into more detail on why Redfall had been designed to be online in the first place, and it's not for the reason you might suspect. Quote, there's no store in the game and there's no microtransactions, Smith told me, preempting any suspicion the game was always online so it could simply always be ready to sell you more stuff. So, why be online if you're not with other people? Smith said the game was designed that way to better help Arcane understand how people were playing it when they got into difficulty. Quote, it allows us to do some accessibility stuff, Smith said. It allows us for telemetry, like if everybody's falling off ladders and dying, holy shit, that shows up. And so we can go and tweak the ladder code. There are reasons we set out to do that are not insidious, end quote. So we always make fun of press releases and the canned quotes because they always sound so fake.
Yeah.
And then when you read a real conversation, like you know how I fucking talk on these shows.
Just
if somebody
words.
wrote down word for word what I said, it doesn't make sense to try to read
What
that.
is actually being said here? So yeah, I'm right there with you that it is funny when it is off the cuff. It's like just information gets put out there in ways that
Information with a capital I.
Yeah, exactly. There we fucking go. But this goes back to like what we talk about a lot when it comes to developers and publishers. Like they are for the most part trying their best, and it's not coming from a bad place, even if it's a bad thing. Yeah. Having said that, it is a little weird that we're at this point and you wouldn't think about that. Like we've had this conversation so many times. It's like they're preemptively understanding of the microtransaction thing. They're getting ahead of that, of like, hey, it's not because of this, it's because of other reasons. But they only had to do that because the microtransaction conversation's been going on for a decade at this point, and it had the blow-up moment of Battlefront 2, where everyone's like, oh shit, we got to be really, really, really explicit about microtransactions, and are they in the game, are they not in the game, and all of that. And so for this, it's like, I feel like we've had this always online conversation enough, and I feel like there has been big blow up moments. That combined even with the like, is the game even on the disc? Like all that, those conversations that like, if I were them, I would have thought about that. But I also understand not everybody's reporting on Games Daily every day. So
it's the biggest thing you hear when you talk to developers making their games, right? Is I feel like they're making their games, they're doing their work. And so for every developer we have that listens to this show or any of our shows for some reason, thank you. But it's always like, not everybody does that. Not everybody can. Some people are just like, I'm working on my game, which means I can't even play other games, which means I'm not paying attention. And I think this is a loaded statement. And I know all the times we've yelled about it on this show, so stick with me. I do think that in the general sense of the conversation, the always online hubbub has died down because most people are always online to some degree. I know that and I should say most people who would listen to a podcast or be part of, are always online to some degree. There are a whole bunch of people that are not connected to the internet. They don't do their games that way, blah, blah. I get all that. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm not saying that's not a thing. But I think it's that you could be lulled into a false sense of security as a developer, even if you were paying attention to the industry, that you don't see that hubbub anymore. It's not like when Xbox One got announced and was like, always online, this new cloud, this is what we're doing, game sharing, and everybody flipped the fuck out. Like, it's not to that level anymore. Most of us and most of our devices to some degree are always online. You just don't think about it. But to make it a requirement is such a different beast than just like, oh, it's pinging in the background or doing whatever, and I wasn't paying attention. Like,
I don't know that I fully agree with what you're saying, just because I feel like the Xbox One moment was the Battlefield or Battlefront moment.
We won the moment.
Yeah, that was the thing of everyone's like, oh fuck. So now when it does, I think it just happens a lot less often than it would have, and I feel like when it does, Gotham Knights, right, was another example of it. Of like, when they do announce that that's how it's going to be, or Suicide Squad, it is like the headline, right, of the day. So it's like I think that
we're not that far off. I think it's just I didn't make my case well enough. I'm saying that we see fewer of those conversations in headlines, so there's not as much the constant banging of the drum anymore that always online is a problem. You could miss that and not fully get that, and have again best intentions in mind.
Totally.
Like, oh, we want to know, we want the data from people so we know how they're enjoying the game or not enjoying the game.
Yep.
But we will wait and see, and it will be fixed. Will anyone care about Redfall when it happens at that point? Nobody knows. But I do know this. Everybody cares about patreon.com/kindafunny. Over on patreon.com/kindafunny, you can kick us a few bucks and get each and every episode of Kinda Funny Games Daily ad-free. You could get the ability to watch us record our podcast when they're not embargoed live, like Mike is doing with the Xcast this afternoon when Xbox's Chris Charlotte comes on by. And of course, you could get dozens and dozens of exclusive episodes of content, all on patreon.com/kindafunny. A great Remember Blank going up on Friday alongside PS I Love You, where me and Bless remember SmackDown versus Raw, the series.
Oh, okay.
Very exciting about that. I like that a lot. Now, of course, we're doing a kind of feudy today, I think, right? Or maybe tomorrow, but it's whatever. There's a kind of feudy happening. It doesn't matter. Patreon.com/kindafunny. What matters right now is that you could get Kinda Funny Games Daily ad-free on patreon.com/kindafunny. But guess what, Jack? You're not. So here's a word from our sponsor.
Shout out to Honey for sponsoring this episode. Honey is the easy way to save when shopping on your iPhone or computer. And thanks to Honey, manually searching for coupon codes is a thing of the past. And we all know there's nothing better than the feeling of saving money. Honey is the free shopping tool that scours the internet for promo codes and applies the best one it finds to your cart. When you check out, the Honey button appears and all you have to do is click Apply Coupons. You wait a few seconds, you see the fun little dancing guy. Honey searches for coupons and it finds you the best ones. And then you just watch the prices drop. We here at Kinda Funny have been using Honey for years, and it's helped us save thousands on tech, costumes, food, you name it. Honestly, I just love how easy it is to just set and forget and save. That's the best part. Honey doesn't just work on desktops, it works on your phone too. You just activate it on Safari on your phone, you save on the go. If you don't already have Honey, you could be straight up missing out. You can get PayPal Honey for free at joinhoney.com/kindafunny. That's joinhoney.com/kindafunny.
Number 4 on the Roper Report. Wow, that threw me. Number 4 on the Roper Report. We have the review roundup for Have a Nice Death. Of course, this is a game out today. It's one of those little indies heading around. It's got a Metacritic of 83. Barrett, I should have given you a trailer to toss up there. I apologize. It's one of those roguelikes. You run around.
Don't worry about it.
Your
When
death.
you don't send me a trailer, I find a trailer.
You got a sickle. You got a little pumpkin man running around with you.
Yeah.
Why it's here? Because it looks pretty great. And again, 83 is nothing to sneeze at. Twinfinite. That's right. Jared Petty's Twinfinite gave it a 5 out of 5, where Andrew McMahon wrote, "If you love a solid challenge that gives its players a justifiable reason to be okay with trial and error approach to progression, then Have a Nice Death is the perfect pick for you. Being able to experiment with even more insane builds to replace your favorites, while also hearing about what an HR nightmare all the employees are, and its hilarious story is just the cherry on top. It manages to create yet another engrossing experience where you're not only okay with dying, but actively welcome it, which is a hard feat to achieve for a medium that's so often known for punishing players for just that. Here's to hoping that Magic Design Studios gets the recognition it deserves for crafting one hell of an underworld experience, and that it'll be able to build upon it even more from here." IGN.com gave it an 8.0. There, Leanna Hafer says, "Have a Nice Death is a punishing but satisfying roguelike with some diabolically tough boss fights. The darkly dorky setting and office humor lend it more than enough charm to make me want to discover more of its world. But it's made significantly more frustrating than it probably needs to be by very stingy long-term progression and limited defensive abilities in comparison to its huge array of fun-to-use offensive weapons. When I wasn't feeling the discouraging void inside dragging me down, I was reveling in the hundreds of ways I could make these visually and mechanically memorable undead wish they never lived at all." And then Gamer Escape gave it a 7. Justin Mercer wrote, "In many ways, Have a Nice Death feels as double-edged as its protagonist's scythe can be. It sports ridiculously tight combat with speedy movement, but it only truly shines during the game's boss fights. It competently incorporates its roguelike mechanics, but in ways that can feel overly familiar, particularly as your playtime increases. It has gorgeous art style, but its unexciting level generation isn't able to fully measure up to it. And yet, despite all this, I still had no shortage of difficulty putting down the controller. Okay, one more run was a common refrain as I worked my way through the offices of Death Inc., chuckling at the humor of its characters, throwing myself at its bosses, and taking in the new sights after overcoming one. Have a Nice Death is sure to please roguelike fans for its playability, but it's a tad too easy to want a bit more from it." Tim,
Yes.
you enjoy a roguelike here and there.
I do. This looks incredible.
Yeah.
I've been excited for this game for a long time. My problem is, though, Greg, I'm not good at these things. And like the line here from Lena, very stingy long-term progression.
Yeah.
That's what I don't like about these type of games. I like feeling like if the more I play, the more runs I do,
Sure.
they're getting easier and easier. And I like that.
Why I love Rogue Legacy.
There we
'Cause,
go.
Rogue Legacy made me feel that every time, yeah.
And I know it's slightly different, but I feel like I had the same criticism of Sifu, where I
Sure.
love Sifu, but I feel like I would have loved it even more if you can just get the upgrades and like keep them sooner, because you eventually get them, but it's after doing the run 1,000 times. Where I would appreciate it maybe after 15 times.
Sure. fair enough.
And last week I booted up Dead Cells, the Return to
yeah,
Castlevania,
yeah.
and like, oh my god, love Dead Cells, love Castlevania more as a aesthetic than the games. I just haven't played too many of them.
Sure.
But I love the music, I love the vibe, obviously the enemy design and all that, and it's just so much fun. But what I appreciate about it is I know I'm never going to beat it. I'm never going to complete this whole thing because it's like it's too many runs, too much going on. But I love that even without beating that game, I'm getting everything I want out of it. There's just so much fun
great.
to be
That's
had in Dead Cells Return to Castlevania. This looks the same way to me, where this looks awesome. I wish I could commit full time to it, and this just being my whole thing. But that and Hollow Knight are the two ones where I'm like, this looks like a dream
but I can't
fucking
play it.
game, but it's also just like it's the little bit of the permanent growth that I want to see more of, and less little numbers going up and changing every goddamn time.
Tim, someone in this office has already been playing Have a
Ooh.
Nice Death. His name is Barrett Courtney. Barrett, where are you right now with Have a Nice Death?
I've put roughly 2.5 hours into it so far. I got through. I'm trying to remember if I beat the second boss last night or if I died like 10 times to the second boss last night. It all just kind of like bleeds together, right? But yeah, like, even though there's kind of a different array of review scores from all those reviews, I see where everybody's coming from.
Sure.
Yeah, like in the level design without the boss fights, like, yeah, it gets a little bit kind of repetitive and nothing really stands out. I think the most fun like I have in like the normal levels is when they kind of like lock you in an area to like do a specific fight. It kind of reminds me of Guacamelee, where you're running around and then it's like very clearly like doors shut and then you have to like do like a whole encounter. And so yeah, there's things like that. I think at least where I've gotten the art style that they've gone with, especially for the environments, like nothing stands out from level to level. And that was like another thing where it's like it's the art style is fun and nice for a little bit, but I wish they had a little bit more fun with it and showed off some more different environments that stood out a little bit more. The progression, yeah, I definitely understand, and I already feel it a little bit 2 hours in of like it's probably gonna be a little bit, but I think it's just something that I think I'm gonna go back to over the course of months, right? And that was the same with Hades, right? Like it took me forever to just beat one run of Hades, you know. So, eventually maybe I'll do one run of Have a Nice Death, and it'll be a great time. But yeah, the highlight for me is the boss fights. I really enjoy, and not just the big kind of like managers or whatever they're called. I think they're called sorrows. That have become obsessed with like basically making death like a very successful business and kind of like overdoing it with like taking souls, which I think is a very interesting possible commentary on the obsession with capitalism and things of that nature, and just kind of like making people chill the fuck out. And those boss fights are really fun, but then there's also like other employees that you fight. Like I fought like just what was it? Just like a guy cleaning, but he like that was like a mini boss that you can do in like the middle of like a level, and those are also really fun and have some great moments that always feel a little bit different each time you go into them. And then like the animation also just really pretty. Like
the game's gorgeous.
Yeah, Have a Nice Death was at the Mix the last 2 nights ago, and I'd already been playing it, but I still like went to their booth just to see like be played a little bit more, because it's just really pretty to look at and see like all the different characters running around, talking to them. It's a really funny game as well. Again, just like poking fun at like corporate kind of big companies. And there's my favorite little bit so far was there's a pumpkin intern who really loves Death, the character you play as, and he's being explained to in the background of like, oh, all these nice perks that you get at this company in the afterlife. Oh, but you don't get access to that right now because you're just an intern. Like maybe one day you'll get that. And there's just like a lot of little things and tidbits like that
awesome.
I chuckle at and have a fun time with. So yeah, so far like after the kind of lull for me personally after Hi-Fi Rush, this is finally a game, another game coming out this year. I'm like, oh yes, I'm excited to get back to it every time I put it down.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Out today, so go ahead and check it out. Steam, the one and only Nintendo Switch. Number 5. So we're going to talk about the one and only Remedy, but they are making a bunch of games. Shinobi over on Twitter grabbed the financial report and went through the current state of Remedy's game pipeline. If you want to open the tweet up there, you can see Remedy Game Portfolio 2022. So under the 505 Games banner, of course, they have Control, which is launched. Codename Condor, which is in the proof of concept phase, Control 2 in the proof of concept phase. Then, in their deal with Epic Games, they have Alan Wake Remastered, which is launched. Then, Alan Wake 2, which is in full production. Then, with Tencent, they have Codename Vanguard, which is in the proof of concept phase. And then, with Rockstar, they have Max Payne 1 and 2 Remake in the concept phase.
Is that new information?
I think so, but I'm not 100% sure anymore because this is 9,000 things that are happening all at once.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Good for them. It's crazy they're partnering with everybody. It's a different strategy than we're used to seeing here. And obviously, groups like Tencent have kind of changed the game, and 505 as well.
So let me give you a couple of things. The chat's saying, no, we knew about the Max Payne 1 2 remakes. I missed it. So that's great. That's Max Payne 1 and 2 are in concept. Concept is, in the concept stage, the high-level idea turns into a more precise and comprehensive creative vision. We define what a game is all about, including a more detailed description of the narrative, the theme, and the key characters. It goes on like this, but it talks about concept would be a team size of around 20 to 30, and the duration being 3 to 6 months before it moves to proof of concept, which moves to production readiness, which moves to full production. Whole bunch of stuff going on there. Outrageous to see Remedy doing this much.
Yeah.
I mean, great for them, good for them. I'm not saying away from it. And overly jammy in the chat says, loving this transparency. Of course, that's something we talk about all the time too, of like Hollywood movies are so transparent about everything, which might be why somebody like Tony Todd wouldn't understand that, like, oh, well, they haven't announced Spider-Man, you shouldn't say anything, or the release date of Spider-Man, you shouldn't say anything. Whereas here you have Remedy just being like, here's everything that's going on, that some of which you know, some of which you don't, here's where it's at. Good for Remedy, man.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a different take, and again, with all the different publishers and having different projects, their hands in a lot of different cookie jars. We'll see where this ends up actually shaking out. They've now kind of proven that like their projects will come out and they can be great. Like Control was Game of the Year contender, so
yeah, it was.
I think a lot of people are very excited for Alan Wake 2 as well, and they're remaking some of their more beloved properties as well. So it kind of just seems like they got this lineup of games seems like really, really intriguing for
I want Control
fans
2 bad.
of them.
Control 2, come on, let's go. Alan Wake, I wish I could get into. I've never been able to. I always try to start it with the best intentions. I just can't stick around.
I feel like the second one, like from what we've seen, it seems like it might be
Fix that
addressing
kind of
some of
thing.
that. Like I
Yeah,
think it just might be like a new type of experience that old fans and new fans can appreciate.
Yeah. Number 6 on the Roper Report, Ubisoft is going to use AI writers. This is Tom Ivan over at VGC. Ubisoft has unveiled a new AI tool it claims it's developing to assist script writers. According to the publisher, Ubisoft Ghostwriter will be used to generate the first draft of the chatter of crowds and triggered NPC lines. While these, it's a great name, weird concept. While these sounds and phrases are central to immersing players in its game worlds, Ubisoft said using AI to help do so will enable its narrative teams to work on less repetitive tasks. The technology has been created by Ubisoft LaForge, the research and development arm of the Assassin's Creed publisher. Quote, introducing Ubisoft Ghostwriter, an AI tool developed in-house that aims to support our scriptwriters by generating the first draft of our NPC barks, the phrases or sounds made by NPCs when players interact with the game world, Ubisoft wrote in the description for the trailer above. This tool was created hand-in-hand with scriptwriters to create more realistic NPC interactions by generating variations on a piece of dialogue. See how our teams will use AI to handle repetitive tasks and free up time to work on other core game elements, quote. There's been an update since this that in a GDC talk, Ubisoft shed more light on its AI writing tool and stressed that it still requires human input. As reported by game developer, Ubisoft LaForge researcher Ben Swanson stated during his presentation that Ghostwriter is not used for cinematics or lore, but is more about making barks, the lines players hear from NPCs as they pass them in the game. There's more, obviously, in this article and stuff like that, but also covering, since it went live, every writer, not every writer, many video game personalities being like, yo, this shit sucks, this is stupid, including this paragraph about former X-Cast host Alana Pierce. Sony Santa Monica writer Alana Pierce wrote, quote, as a writer, having to edit AI-generated scripts/dialogue sounds far more time-consuming than just writing my own temp lines. I would far prefer AAA studios use whatever budget it costs to make tools like this to instead hire more writers, end quote.
Yeah, I saw this all going down yesterday, and it was interesting seeing the initial knee-jerk reaction, which is what we'd expect, and a lot of things like that, and then people that were at the talk itself being like, whoa. The headline's not as bad and dire as it seems. There's a lot of helpful things here. We're at this turning point with this AI stuff, man, and it's happening so fast. Like, that makes sense, right? It's kind of like teaching itself. I remember when Kevin first was explaining to me 3D printers back in the late, like, early 2000s. Late early 2000s? You know what I'm saying. 2007 to 9.
Sure, I got you.
Right? The early aughts, I guess, is what Kevin will call them. And then he was explaining to me 3D printers and how they're going to change the world, or at least his world.
Yeah.
You know, because he's Kevin.
I still can't believe he doesn't have one.
And he was always talking about, he's like, the dream is to have a 3D printer that then you can make new 3D printers of. And that blew my mind. I couldn't understand it. And then when I realized, oh, he's just talking about making all the parts to then make another one to then be able to, and I was like, what the fucking hell? That's insane. But that it blew my mind. And I was like, this is scary because one day we're going to apply this to AI, where AI is going to build itself, make itself, and we see it in every fucking movie
Kill us,
sense and make and whatnot, right?
I keep urging Kevin to buy a 3D printer because I follow a guy who makes a bunch of different proton pack stuff. And you can support him on Patreon, and then he gives you the 3D printing files. And I could make a real Ghostbusters proton pack and PKE meter.
It'd be
but
perfect.
Kevin's got to fucking buy a goddamn 3D printer.
Got to figure it out.
I thought you were going to go a different direction and say, I keep telling Kevin to become an AI, and that terrifies me as
Dude,
well.
We're on the brink, Barrett. We're on
if we
the
could
brink.
upload Kevin's consciousness to then be like my assistant, like that one Black Mirror episode where the girl John Hamm was there, and that'd be awesome. I would love it. Every one of my texts I would send would be spelled wrong, but he'd be so supportive most of the time.
Yeah.
Then he'd come in.
Like 85% of the time, and then 10% of the time, he's like kind of gaslighting you just to fuck with you a little bit, you know? Like,
That's accurate. So yeah, this is a one of those stories where it's like, yeah, AI is going to be more and more part of our lives, and how can you use it? But like, to Alana's thing, right? Of like, it's not is it really eliminating that much of the repetitive work? If I have to then the writer has to then go through
different
and look
repetitive
through
work.
it? Yeah.
And that's the thing is we're at this boom right now of everyone's questioning how can we use AI.
Yeah.
And then
Not should.
we're going to get to a point. Yeah, exactly. There's like not enough people asking should. And now the people are going to start asking. And just like we've talked about for the last couple stories, where whether it's microtransactions or always online, people are going to get the message. What are they going to do once they understand that? I think that's the bigger question. We've been talking about Ubisoft being in a very bad place for a very long time now. And this is not something that I'm like, you know what? I trust Ubisoft. They're going to do this, and it's going to work, and it's going to be great, and everyone's going to be happy. Because of Ubisoft and their choices in recent times, I'm like, yeah, this is probably not going to be good. It's probably going to result in a lot of bad headlines of layoffs and other bad situations.
It'll be the normal thing where the AI gets connected and starts to learn, and then all of a sudden it becomes a Nazi. That's what seems, and they unplug it.
Yeah, exactly. All of that. And then it's just going to turn into a bunch of people, like, even if it is, whether it's working or not, when this is implemented in games, people are going to clown it the fuck out anytime it's even a little slightly off.
Sure.
Which is going to be. Because guess what, Greg? We've had smart devices for fucking decades at this point, and they still don't always turn off my lights when I ask them to.
Fair enough.
do you think that they're using this as a prototype to be able to write future
Yes.
Yves Guillemot kind of interviews?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say games in general, but yeah.
No. Because the man talks like
No,
a
they're
robot already.
definitely trying to eventually replace most writers. Anybody they have to pay. Capitalism. Number 7 is just a couple updates for you from previous Games Daily stories. Yesterday, we talked about the fact they were delisting Mirror's Edge in those Battlefield games. EA has since made a correction. It's not delisting Mirror's Edge, just those Battlefield games.
Justice for Bad Company 1 and 2.
No. And then the other one was, we had put up that it looked like Lego and 2K was going to do something. IGN accidentally leaked it. It's still getting announced tomorrow. What it is Lego 2K Drive. It's releasing May 19th for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Switch. Oh, and I'm sorry, Xbox in general. You know how the Xbox works. Switch and PC on Steam and Epic Games. Visual Concepts is developing. It is an open world game with vehicle customization and cars from Lego City, Creator, Speed Champions, McLaren Solus GT, and F1 LM. It's $69.99/$59.99. IGN has taken down the article. I believe I got that from Shinobi as well, but I apologize. I meant to source it.
Wario 64.
Thank you very much. And that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited for this 2K game, I guess. Honestly, let's be frank. I ain't fucking excited about it. I'm never going to play it. Not a chance in hell. But I'm always hopeful that every day there will be a game I want to play. Tim, if there was a game that came out today that Greg might want to play, where would he find out about it?
The official list of upcoming software across each and every platform is listed by the Kind of Funny Games Daily show host each and every weekday.
Yeah. Out today. Beyond the Wall on PC, Backrooms Exploration on PC, Torian Defense on Xbox, Island Farmer on Xbox, Have a Nice Death on Switch and PC, and Last Labyrinth on PlayStation VR 2. Tim, we asked people watching live on twitch.tv/kindafunnygames and youtube.com/kindafunnygames to keep us honest by going to kindafunny.com/you're wrong and tell us what we screw up as we screw it up so we can set the record straight for everybody watching later. Kebabs writes in and says, a correction for yesterday. Crash Team Rumble actually started out as a multiplayer mode for Crash 4 that was cut due to time constraints. Nanobiologist writes in to say, to clarify, Alan Wake 2 is confirmed to be a survival horror game rather than the action adventure horror game the first game is. That's not helpful. Well, okay, Bander SN says Max Payne 1 and 2 remake were announced last spring. Kebab says a lathe is another machine that can make itself. Every part of the lathe can be made on a lathe. Nobody cares. Shut up. And then Nano says just about every local public library has a 3D printer you can rent. Greg, I know that. I booked one. I booked one when I wanted to print my backbone attachment for my new iPhone. But like these are big builds. I'm not gonna go in there like over a 4-month period. And do you think I want to be in the library? Like, what if Shuhei Yoshida drives by and sees me in there? He's like, nerd! I can't have that on my conscience. I got to be home playing video games. And again, see, this is the brilliance of if Kevin bought the 3D printer, I could just give him the files, then he would just bring me the Proton pack.
See, Kev needs to go to the library, print the stuff to make his own 3D printer.
But also, Kevin wouldn't be caught dead in the library.
They wouldn't let him in.
Yeah.
They were like, wash those hands. He'd say no. And they wouldn't let him in. There's a strict no witch hand policy in the library. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Kinda Funny Games Daily. If you didn't know, each and every week, we come to you each and every day with the nerdy news you need to know about. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/kindafunny, where you could support us, get each and every episode ad-free, get the ability to watch the podcast ad-free and live as we record them like we're doing this afternoon with the Xcast and Xbox Chris Charla, and of course get the dozens and dozens of exclusive episodes of content like Kinda Feudy, Greg Way, and everything else over on patreon.com/kindafunny. You already know if you can watch it live, youtube.com/kindafunnygames. You can watch it later on youtube.com/kindafunnygames. You should subscribe on a podcast service of your choice. Even if you only watch on one of those things, go to the other ones, like, subscribe, share, do all that jazz, and tell your friends about it. Of course, since we're here each and every day, there's 2 more days in the week. Tomorrow, Tim and Simon Cardy from IGN.com.
Cardy, baby.
Will host this show, and Friday, Tim and Blessing will. Right now, if you want to watch some more video games, guess what? The boys are playing more Elden Ring on twitch.tv/kindafunnygames, youtube.com/kindafunnygames. You can watch it later on youtube.com/kindafunnygames, because you can just about everything on youtube.com/kindafunnygames.
It's true.
Tim, I've enjoyed this episode with you, sir.
Been joyful.
Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.